Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and today I want to talk about how disapproval is a contributor to chronic illness and chronic pain and chronic symptoms, chronic disease. So, are you afraid of disapproval? Do you spend your life worrying about what other people think? If this is you and if you're constantly hurt and injured by when people disapprove of you, and you can't stop thinking and caring about what other people think and say about you, and if this is you, this is contributing to your chronic illness and your chronic disease. And I want to just give you some perspective on it. So disapproval, why are we so vulnerable to disapproval? Why are we so injured and hurt, and why do we spiral and we can be so crushed, and it plays over and over and over in our mind when someone says something that's negative? They either criticize us or disapprove of us or judge us in some way. And some people let it roll right off their back, but people like us, people who have or deal with chronic symptoms or chronic pain or chronic suffering or chronic illness, take this very, very personally, right? We think about it and we obsess about it, and we roll these conversations over and over in our head. And you can either be one of two types of people when somebody criticizes or disapproves of you or judges you in some way. Some people just let it roll right off them and they think, well, I don't need that person. I really don't care what they think. And they move on to other people. They just lock them out of their life. They cut off and they move away from, and they just carry on and go get new relationships with people who approve of them, and they don't look back. This type of person usually keeps people at arm's length, and they usually don't develop deep and meaningful, really, really good relationships, because they easily care they don't easily care. They are easy to move on, and they push the hurt away right away, and they don't spend time trying to solve the problem or fix it or communicate or even thinking about it because it's too painful. So, but that's probably not the type of person you are if you have chronic illness. What more than likely is that you care deeply and you want to solve this relationship, fix this relationship. You want them to like you. You want them to approve of you. You want to feel good in their present. Like, you don't want to feel criticized and judged by these people, but you don't want to just cut them out of your life because the relationships are meaningful to you, and you care deeply about keeping people close around you and having deep, meaningful, and lasting relationships. But you feel very hurt, and you can carry this hurt. And what often happens with these types of people is that they turn to perfectionism, right? It's a trait of somebody who has chronic illness or chronic disease. They turn to a perfectionistic nature, and they try to get things right so that people will approve of them, stop criticizing them, stop judging them, so that they can get it right. Often we try to think, how can I be a better person? What can I do to make this up? What can I say? What can I do? How can I put on a face that what kind act can I do for somebody? How can I make them like me, right? And we worry about that because we want to be liked. So these are normally the type of people who develop chronic illness because they keep these feelings inside, this shame, like, people don't like of me, people disapprove of me unless I do this. It's always that, unless I'm better, unless I'm more kind, unless I'm more loving, unless I show my true nature less, because when I do something and people criticize me, we learn from that. And we start to judge ourselves the way other people judge us. And we start to say, don't do that, don't say that. We start to have this negative self-talk to ourselves before we actually do anything, because we've learned in the past that other people have said these things. So now we say these things to ourselves, even if no one's saying it to us. We self-criticize and we self-judge. So we're very critical and judgmental and disapproving of our very own selves, because it's the one thing that we fear more than anything. It's the one thing that we hate to feel more than anything. So we feel if we do it to bring it onto ourselves, we can catch ourselves, and before we put it out there in the world and somebody else disapproves or criticizes or judges us, because that's really at the heart what hurts us more than anything, and what we live our life trying to avoid. We try to avoid those feelings of disapproval and rejection and criticism and abandonment and judgment. And so we do that to ourselves. And this causes the nature of chronic illness. So what can we do about it? Well, often we are so busy trying to never feel that feeling. We want to avoid it, and that's why we have this perfectionistic nature. That's why we have this type A personality. That's why we are self-critical and self-judging and self-loathing. That's why we have that nature. So the thing that we can do is just stop running from that feeling that we're afraid of more than anything. And we can start to allow ourselves to feel that feeling when someone judges us, criticizes us, rejects us, shames us in some way. We can allow ourselves to feel that, to feel how it feels to feel disapproved of and rejected and shamed, rather than run from it and rather than try to change it or fix it. We can just sit in those feelings. We can allow them to come. We can realize that those feelings aren't going to kill us. And we can realize that we can start to detach from those feelings and become aware, like, what is really the situation at hand here? Did I really do something wrong? Or is this coming from them? You know, you can take ownership for your part in it and their part in it. You can journal about it, you can write about it, you can meditate on it, you can allow yourself to feel it. Because as long as we stop running from wanting to feel those, as long as we stop trying to avoid feeling it, then we can stop the perfectionistic and nature that we live with, that we carry with us, this sort of urgency to be perfect and to get everything right all the time. Because if we know that people are going to criticize us and judge us and abandon us and reject us and all these different feelings, we are going to feel that, and we just allow ourselves to, then we don't have to be that way. We don't have to put on that defense mechanism and live our life that way in order to avoid that. Hello. So that's the first thing that you can do, is just allow yourself to feel those very feelings that make you the most uncomfortable. To allow yourself to feel that deep disapproval. And we yearn to not feel it. Stop replaying those conversations in your head. Stop trying to change it. Stop trying to be better. Stop trying to please somebody. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to judge yourself or criticize yourself or hate yourself to try to get yourself to be better. Self-motivation, whatever it is. Just sit with it and realize that sometimes you are going to be disapproved of and rejected, but you're just being yourself. And allow that to be okay. And when we can allow ourselves to be ourselves, and that's okay, and the feeling of, I don't have to fix it, I don't have to necessarily be that first type of person that I said that just pushes those people away and cuts them off and not cares what they think and moves on to somebody else. I can just allow the fact that someone's angry with me or mad at something I did or judges or criticizes me for a certain thing. I can just sit with that and be like, I still want to be their friend and I still care what they think, but I'm not going to live my life in order to please them. If they like me for who I am, they like me, and I hope they do. You don't have to be one or the other, like either cut them off or either go to great lengths to please, to be a people pleaser, to be perfect. You can just be yourself. So that's the knowledge of just sitting with that and saying, I still want them in my life. I'm still going to be a good person, but I'm not going to be a people pleaser. I'm not going to be even better so that I can avoid that feeling that I get if they're not happy with me. Right? So it's a tough one. But if we can stop living our lives this way, then if we can start to just sit with those feelings and to have it be okay that we are who we are, we want people to like us, we want to be good people, but this is the situation. And if they're going to walk away from us, then that's their choice, right? We're not going to bend over backwards to please them and make them stay, but we're not going to also just push them away and try not to care what they think. We do care what they think. We do care. And it's okay to care. That makes us able to feel and really assess the situation and learn, like, could I have done something, would I do something different in the future? You know, is there something I do need to take responsibility for and apologize for? Or, you know, is this just sort of a misunderstanding, or I don't have to go to great lengths to fix this or make them think different of me. I'm just going to be myself and be okay with that. So it's about developing this self-worth. And I'll do another video on self-worth and ways that we can develop our own self-worth. But when you can develop this, your own self-worth, really feeling good about who you are as a person, and yeah, you're going to make mistakes, but you don't have to live your life in fear of constant rejection or disapproval, fear of criticism, fear of judgment, right? So when you're comfortable being you, and when you allow yourself, you give yourself the gift of being you without having to change, knowing that people are going to come and people are going to go, but most people are going to stay. And if they don't, if they really don't understand you for you are, or who you like, or like you for who you are, or if they really have negative things to think about you, when you're just being yourself and you're just being you, then that's really not the type of person that you want in your life, and you're better to let them walk away, okay? And sometimes it's a fine line, right? Especially when we already really like somebody, or we already have put in so much time to develop a relationship, and then we feel hurt or criticized by a person. We feel we've already invested and we need to keep investing. We need to keep people pleasing or being perfect, being even more perfect, so that they will forgive us, because this feeling is just too intense to think of, that to feel that someone disapproves or judges or criticizes us. So we have to just get comfortable with that in ourselves. And it's not easy, but once we are, we can change the way we live our life, right? We can live our life in a more easygoing, defenseless way. Right now, we're always on the defensive, right? What can I do? How can I be better? How can I be more perfect? How can I get people to like me? How can I, right? It's exhausting, and it wears a person down and out. And we're very self-critical and self-judging of ourselves in order to be this way in the world. And those are also hurting you. They're keeping you sick. They're exhausting you. They're keeping you in pain. They add to suffering. They cause you to be in negativity instead of positivity. It causes you to really have no joy because you're too busy trying to get everything right and please everybody. So it's a very hurried existence. It's a very intense existence. Have to get everything right, have to get everything done. There's never enough time. You're never good enough. And that's just not the way life should be. So go back in your mind to a time when things were good, when you remember as a child feeling carefree and it didn't matter what people thought. You weren't worried about the whole outside world. You were just focused on your own self and your own needs. And that's kind of what you need to get back to, is meeting your own self needs, feeling good about yourself, being yourself, just allowing yourself to be you without so many rules and without so many cares and worries about how it's going to be perceived in the outside world. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope it's made you see that some of the personality traits you're carrying, especially when it comes to disapproval, and on the flip side, your perfectionistic nature against that, the defense against that, is really harming you and keeping you sick and stuck. So we need to look an inner reflection on those and really try to change them, really try to allow them, the feelings to come, and to do some self work in that area. So I hope it's been helpful. Maybe I'll make some more videos on how exactly, to walk through that. But anyways, I hope this video has been helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.